Listen, when you're trying to balance eating on set and doing your job, oh my goodness, it's a hard task, but somebody's got to do it, and I'm very grateful to be here. Welcome back to Sunrise. It's a beautiful Monday morning right here in Kingston, Jamaica. And if it's your birthday, happy birthday to you. And if it's your anniversary, what do I say? Happy anniversary to you. I want to say good morning to everybody in the Cayman Islands. I have some big ups coming, but I want to be specific. But before we get to that, if you're joining us for Law and Order, yeah, that's the time right now. Here is the question for today. My name is Peaches. I was recently away for 2 months for summer vacation. During that time, I allowed my cousin Sean to keep my motor vehicle so that he could drive to and from university. Sean got into an accident with my vehicle one night while on his way from Ochi for a party. My vehicle was damaged and persons were injured. I have comprehensive insurance on my vehicle, but the insurance company is denying coverage. Apparently, Sean collected $2,000 as contribution to gas, and the insurance company is saying that my vehicle was being used for hire, which is against my policy, and that my policy was not meant to cover Sean having custody of the vehicle for so long. Can they really do this? What are my rights? Well, here to ventilate these issues this morning is attorney at law and partner at Nunez, Cofield and Dillon, Nunez, Cofield, Dillon and Co, Camille Wignall Davis, and she's here to provide counsel. Counsel, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
I see we're bowing together, right?
Right.
Lovely. Some people get their vehicles with a bow, but she's in a spot of bother right now. Based on the facts presented this morning, what are we looking at?
Well, so based on the facts that have been presented by Peaches this morning, her biggest issue is really to just ascertain from her cousin exactly what happened, and also to familiarize herself with her policy documents, her insurance coverage, so that she can be clear on the terms of the coverage and whether or not this particular use, this particular scenario falls outside of that coverage. I do know that persons oftentimes think that because you have comprehensive insurance, it covers everything.
And everyone.
But that's not quite the case for comprehensive insurance. Whilst it does speak to the fact that it will cover your own damage, depending on the circumstances, not all losses will be covered. There are terms and conditions of the policy in relation to use, custody, and other matters which will influence whether or not you can claim coverage under the vehicle. So
let me ask you, if it is that you go to your insurance agent and you want other people to be able to drive the vehicle, so is it that if the policy doesn't cover that at all, nobody else can drive the vehicle at all? And if it is damaged, then you're on your own?
Okay, so depending on what the terms of your policy are, it can cover other people.
Right.
Ordinarily, if you have a comprehensive policy with open driving, then it does cover other people. But this particular scenario, which Peaches has raised, speaks to the use of the vehicle as well. And that's crucial when you talk about insurance coverage. It's a contract, and under that contract, there would have been specific terms as to what types of use would be covered by the particular policy. So even though there can be open driving on the policy, if it turns out that at the time of a particular loss or incident, the vehicle was being used for something that the policy does not cover,
you're in a spot of bother.
You're in a spot of bother.
All right, let me ask you this, counsel. She talked about for hire. What does use for hire or reward mean? And can a one-off use of a motor vehicle in this scenario amount to a breach of the insurance policy?
Right. So when we talk about use for hire or reward, it really speaks to a situation where there is some agreement, some understanding between the operator of the vehicle and the person who is being transported, that person will be transported for payment.
Right.
So if that's the purpose of the travel, to secure some kind of compensation for it, and that's the agreement, then that constitutes hire or reward. It doesn't extend to a social lift. We oftentimes will offer lifts to a friend and so on. It does not necessarily extend to that.
Okay.
And if it is a case that there was in fact an agreement to transport someone for reward, even if it was just on one occasion, then you could find yourself again in a spot of bother.
Yeah, because that's a breach.
That's a breach if your policy was limited to social, domestic and pleasure purposes.
Because now you've traversed into public passenger issues, and the insurance doesn't cover if that person gets injured, which in this case, Peaches said that people actually got injured. She mentioned having custody and control of the motor vehicle. Is there a limit to how long an individual can lend somebody their vehicle?
Right, so everything again goes back to the terms of the policy, because it's a contract.
Yes.
You know, that's what it is, that arrangement between the insurance company and yourself. So it's that policy contract that would stipulate whether or not there is a time limit. And in addition to, it's important to know that the contract goes beyond just the actual policy document. It includes the certificate of insurance, and it includes that application form that we will all fill out when we're trying to get insurance coverage.
Yes.
So oftentimes we answer questions, we state certain facts there on that form, maybe not without thinking about it fully. And that also, those responses form a part of the contract. So if you had given some indication when you were applying that you would be the only person with custody and so on, you may find yourself in a bit of an issue if down the road you have divested yourself of that custody, and the insurance company was not notified.
Very well. Finally, if there's a breach in the policy, in the insurance policy, what is the course of redress for persons?
All right, so you have several options available to you. If it is that the insurance company takes a position that the policy was breached, and you want to ventilate that issue with the insurance company, again, you have to look to your contract. Most of these contracts allow for arbitration, and it's a specified time limit. I think usually about a year, 12 months, thereabouts. And if you find yourself outside of that time limit and you have not exercised that right to request arbitration, you could find yourself in a situation where you can't challenge the insurance company on that issue. Quite apart from that too, in the scenario raised by Peaches, it being an accident, again, it would all depend on how the accident occurred. She perhaps could have options of pursuing the other party, depending on if, you know, the accident was such that there's basis to say they're responsible. So that's another option to explore, bringing a claim against that person or pursuing compensation from that person's insurance company. So those are the two primary options. There's also the question of potential liability for Peaches too.
Yes.
As the owner of the vehicle,
yes.
But certainly based on what she has said, given that her cousin may have been on his own business at the time, that also would perhaps provide a defense for her.
Yes, a frolic of his own.
Right,
yes.
There you go, there you go. There you
Lovely.
Go.
All right, thank you so very much, Counsel. We appreciate that. Be very careful, guys, about your insurance policy. Not because your vehicle is insured, it means carte blanche. You can just give whoever you want to give, do what you want to do, run robot when you want to run it, make a little food on the side, because in the event that something does happen, if the contractor does not stipulate that you are allowed to do same, it could mean that you will be held liable. That was attorney at law and partner at Nunes, Cofield, Dillion & Co., Camille Wignall Davis. Remember to keep those legal questions coming by sending them to our socials at CVM_television and at Sunrise CVM. We'll be right back.